and Russia seem to be using similar gray zone tactics when attacking countries in Europe and Asia.
In a March Helsinki Commission hearing, a critical issue took center stage, what experts call gray zone tactics, a form of strategic competition that falls somewhere between peace and outright war. Congressman Ellzey pressed this issue in questioning a national security expert, highlighting a growing concern in U.S. foreign policy, how adversaries like China and Russia are reshaping the battlefield without ever firing a traditional shot. Make sure you listen till the end, otherwise, you might miss it when it cuts off.
And let's talk about China-Russia cooperation real quick. And I'm going to address this to Audrey. China and Russia seem to be using similar gray zone tactics when attacking countries in Europe and Asia, including subsea cable cutting, influence and information manipulation campaigns, and airspace incursions. To what extent are China and Russia's militaries and political leadership directly collaborating on these type of attacks, or are they just copying each other?
Thank you, Representative Ellzey, for the question. I think we certainly see a high degree of alignment in Chinese and Russian interests. So this is not to say that, they don't have their disagreements, and I think at times they are wary of each other. But by and large, I think China is aligned with Russia in wanting to see sort of destabilization and weakening of democratic, free, and open societies, including the United States and the European Union. And Representative Ellzey outlined sort of a range of tactics that they've been using, and I think we see a lot of synchronization, especially in the strategic narratives that they're using on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And sort of amplifying, echoing a lot of disinformation that Russian state media has been propagating. I think we also see China sort of going beyond that, where not only is it sort of amplifying and spreading disinformation that is meant to sow discord and sort of expose the fissures and sort of vulnerabilities in democratic societies. I think China, in my work, I found that Chinese state media is actively sort of trying to push the message of what I call autocratic advantage, sort of highlighting the performance advantages of authoritarian regimes, not calling it autocracy per se, but sort of highlighting some of the benefits and advantages that having a strong man in power, having that centralization of power affords for the people of a country. And I think in my research, I found that actually has significant impacts on how foreign publics globally think about democracy and the degree of support for democracy. So I think we see an intersection where China is sort of not only trying to shape in the views of China itself, but also, I think, fundamentally undermining, support for democracy and accelerating democratic backsliding.
Thank you, Audrey. Anybody else want to address that? Go ahead, Valbona.
Yes, sir. So I think that China and Russia are strange bedfellows. However, they have shared strategic alignment, and it's mainly to counter the imposition to the United States in opposition to NATO, and that's very open in the narrative when they repeat each other's narrative, but also to the liberal international order more in general. I think what the difference is between China and Russia is that Russia is a revisionist nuclear power seeking to undermine NATO and destroy the current international order, while China, which is the primary long-term competitor also of the United States, aims to use the global institutions and reshape and take advantage from those institutions. I think what's important, especially when it comes to the European Union perspective also on China, which is the topic also of conversation today, is that one of the main trends that has changed perceptions in Europe has been really the support that Beijing has given to Russia for its war in Ukraine, and that has raised awareness in the European Union about the security challenges. China, at the same time, is a competitor, a partner, but also systemic rival, and that part of the systemic rival has increased of its importance, especially after the shattering of the security architecture of Europe after the invasion of Ukraine. The No Limits Partnership has strengthened that, but also the economic cooperation between the two countries because they need each other in the current stage. The Chinese officials have been very open that they would not like Russia to go down, even in talks with members from the European Commission. So it is very, very clear. We just need to be eye-opened and not to really apply sometimes mirror imaging on things that we think do not make sense, because they are very openly stating the obvious. So just in the last 2 years, they have met more than 40 times, President Xi and President Putin. That should tell us something.
Sure does. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to yield time to Chairman Wilson for 5 minutes of questions. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Gray zone tactics are deliberately ambiguous. They include cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns, economic coercion, and the use of proxy forces, actions designed to destabilize rivals while staying below the threshold that would trigger a conventional military response. It's not about tanks crossing borders, it's about influence, pressure, and plausible deniability. What makes these tactics especially effective is their subtlety. A cyber intrusion can disrupt infrastructure without immediate attribution. A coordinated misinformation campaign can erode public trust from within. Economic leverage, like restricting trade or controlling key supply chains, can quietly bend nations to strategic will. All of this creates a persistent state of pressure that is difficult to counter using traditional defense tools. During the hearing, the discussion underscored a key challenge. The United States and its allies are still largely structured to respond to clear, overt threats. Gray zone operations exploit that gap. They thrive in the space where legal frameworks, military doctrines, and political consensus are often unclear or slow to react. China and Russia have refined these methods over years, integrating them into broader national strategies. For China, this might involve maritime militia activity in contested waters or economic influence through infrastructure investments. For Russia, it often includes cyber operations and information warfare aimed at weakening democratic institutions. The real concern is not just the tactics themselves, but the cumulative effect. Over time, gray zone operations can shift geopolitical realities without triggering a decisive response. Borders, alliances, and public opinion can all be gradually reshaped. So the question raised in that hearing is a serious one: how should the U.S. respond? Countering gray zone tactics requires more than military strength. It demands coordination across government, stronger alliances, better cyber defenses, and a proactive approach to information integrity. In today's strategic environment, conflict isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes, it's quiet, persistent, and unfolding in the background. And that makes it all the more dangerous. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.